What if I told you that the brands you love might be influencing who you think you are? It sounds dramatic, but it's true. From the sneakers you wear to the coffee cup in your hand, branding quietly influences your sense of self. Hey there, I'm Kayla, and as someone getting a degree in advertising and studying psychology, I've realized that branding isn't just about selling products. It's about selling identities. Every brand tells us something about who we should be, how we should look, and what kind of life we should want. But why does this work? Let's discuss it. The psychology behind branding. In 1943, psychologist Abraham Maslow developed the hierarchy of needs to explain human motivation. At the top are our social, esteem, and self-actualization needs, things like belonging, confidence, and purpose. Branding taps right into those layers, and that's why we say people don't buy products, they buy meaning. Good marketers understand this well, so the best campaigns start with purpose, understanding why a product matters and what identity it promises. But this doesn't just affect how brands sell. No. It also affects how we as consumers buy. We often purchase in two ways. One, to reflect who we are now, and two, to reach who we want to become. That desire can come from wanting to belong or stand out, or maybe a little bit of both. But either way, it shapes our sense of self. Think about it, the bag you carry, your shoes, your phone. They all send subtle messages about who you are, or at least who you want people to think you are. Let's take a look at some examples. Apple sells creativity and rebellion. Nike sells resilience and power. Starbucks sells everyday luxury. Even viral trends like the Stanley Cup phenomenon or the Bear Cup craze show how meaning gets attached to consumption. Because these brands aren't just selling products, they're building worlds that people want to belong to. When branding becomes identity, getting customers to identify with your brand is the goal. But as consumers, what happens when we start defining ourselves by brands? Social media is a breeding ground for this. We've seen things like the clean girl, that girl, minimalist aesthetics tear through TikTok, Instagram, and other platforms like wildfire. People strive to reshape themselves to fit the mold instead of finding a mold that actually fits them. Now, this isn't to say that we should never strive to be better, but completely curating a different identity simply to achieve the status that's attached to it is dangerous. Imagine you strongly identify with a certain brand and you've spent tons of money purchasing their products. Having these products make you feel like you belong. They allow you to convey a desired message to the world around you. But let's say that all of a sudden the brand gets canceled or does something that violates even your values. Now, being seen with their products holds a very different connotation. That brand you once felt proud of has now become a source of shame. Does your sense of self crumble with it, or do you remain grounded because your identity isn't built on what can change? Self-expression versus self-marketing. This leads us to something very important, and that is the difference between self-expression and self-marketing. Self-expression is, as you may have guessed, expressing yourself, communicating your thoughts, values, and feelings in a way that is true to you. The ultimate goal is authenticity to foster connection. Self-marketing, on the other hand, is more curated. It's about strategically building what is called a personal brand to influence how others see you, whether that's for career growth, reputation, or opportunities. The problem is that today, these two often blur. We're told to be ourselves, but to also build our brand. And somewhere along the way, brands have taught us how to brand ourselves. We learn identity through consumption. I'm a Nike guy. I'm a minimalist. I'm an Awala girl. Branding gives language and imagery to our self-concept, but it can also box us in. We become personal brands instead of people. In other words, we used to buy to express ourselves. Now, we become brands to market ourselves, finding identity that doesn't change. Circling back to the idea of identity, one of the biggest causes of unhappiness today is building it on things that can change. As a Christian, I've learned that while branding can inspire us, it can also distract us from our true identity, the one rooted in God, not consumerism. The goal isn't to reject branding entirely. When we're aware of how it works, we can participate in culture intentionally, not unconsciously. So instead of letting brands define us, we can choose to engage with them from a place of grounded identity, one that's stable, meaningful, and not tied to brands. So here's the takeaway for brands. What if you created identities that reflect your audience instead of defining them? And for us as consumers, take a moment to ask yourself why you buy what you buy. Is it because you've adopted the identity a brand sold you, or because it aligns with your authentic, evolving self? The strongest identity isn't built through labels, it's discovered through purpose. If you enjoyed this video and found it in some way, shape, or form interesting, helpful, then consider subscribing, because that's what we're talking about on this channel. All things media, branding, strategy, and culture, and I would love to have you join me on that journey. Once again, I'm Kayla Naomi Harris, and I'll see you in the next video.